What's good, YouTube? Lance Speaks, man. Tired as I don't know what, man. You know what I mean? We bang that chest day out, boy. One of my favorites, but that thing wore me out, man, especially when I'm fasting. But anyway, man, Gilbert Arenas, man, started a whole firestorm after LeBron James. I believe what he did was he hit a milestone, which is 50,000 career points, but I think it includes regular season and the playoffs. You know, which, I mean, looking at it, man, you look at it like, wow, 50,000, man, that's a lot of damn points and so on like that. And yeah, it's one of them things, and it's one of the reasons why he'll go down, you know, as one of the top players of all time. And I understand there's some who believe he is the top player of all time. You know what I mean? But it led back into the GOAT discussion. And I decided, you know, I'm going to talk about it. I never on my channel in all my years of covering sports. You know, most people, a lot of guys grew their channel off of LeBron James. You know, I kind of never did. I didn't jump on the wave back in 2013, 14, 15. But had I probably be in a different situation right now. But, you know, I didn't. And you know, and it is what it is. But I want to go ahead and kind of weigh in on it, you know, because why not? Matter of fact, it was a shout out to Showtime Basketball on Point, or Showtime Now Sports on Point, you know, who dealt with it yesterday. You know, did a real good job. Had people representing LeBron James camp, you know, who believe he's the GOAT, though, and others for Jordan's camp. Had some Kobe guys in there who arguing for him. And I believe it was a really good discussion. I believe he was fair in the way he allowed people to, you know, weigh in and stuff like that. I kind of wanted to weigh in, but then I started seeing it got crowded. And then there was a couple of guys in there. Shout out to one of the old heads, and I think he goes by the name of Elder. He was cooking, you know, and a couple of other brothers in there too. So I didn't even really feel the need to go in on that particular discussion. But I kind of wanted to just say, you know, a few things. All right, so first of all, I consider myself very unbiased in the situation. And I say this because I'm old enough to have seen the beginning and the end of both of their careers. Michael Jordan, I've seen him. I remember him as a rookie coming in 1984. I remember Michael Jordan, I remember the North Carolina game, you know, where he hits the buzzer beater. I remember James Worthy coming into the league, you know, so I remember Michael Jordan the whole time, okay? All the years, all of his finals, championships, playoff runs, kind of saw them all. And what I'm saying is, it wasn't even as a fan of Michael Jordan necessarily. Now, I was a fan of, I guess, the way he played. Like, the way he played, you like, damn. But by nature, I'm a homer. My rooting interest is always the Philadelphia teams. So as a Sixers fan, I'm watching Michael Jordan. Matter of fact, I would say for the first half of his career, if anything, you would call me a hater, because I was such a Julius Erving fan. I was like a little kid, the way some of these weirdos are when it comes to, say, Caitlin Clark. I was like that about Julius Erving, real rap. You know, I never wanted to believe anyone was better than him. But then Michael Jordan, it got to a certain point where I had to kind of, you know, admit, all right, yeah, he better than Doc. You know what I mean? It was one of them situations with him. So I'm not coming to you as like just some Jordan guy. I'm not coming to you as a guy that thinks, you know, I'm not going to say every player that played in the 90s or 80s or whatever is better than every player who played now, right? And then at the same time with LeBron James, I remember him coming into the league, 04 or whatever, all the way to, you know, now. Seen every finals he was in, most of his games. I ain't gonna say I watch every game. You don't need to. I've seen enough, trust me. So I'm not with a bias, a modern bias against the back in the day guys, thinking everybody's bigger, stronger, more athletic, and all of that. I don't agree with any of that, actually. Now, you know, so we just coming clear. It's not no bias here. It's just as a guy, as a Sixers fan, and as a fan of basketball, you know, in general, and a guy that has a lot of respect for the history of the game. You know, I could talk to you about, man, different eras, all of that, you know. So that's just first off. Now, when it comes to LeBron James and Michael Jordan, you know, the question is, for me, greatest of all time, for me means better basketball player, okay? Not better career, but better basketball player. And I say this because the career thing can be quite subjective. Some will propose the argument, and I believe the first I heard propose it, not saying he was, but first I heard bring this up was like a Max Kellerman. I remember he was saying that LeBron James just has the greatest career of all time, right? And first of all, I would think that would go to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but I'm not going to get into that. But the greatest career of all time, meaning he played more years. So in this argument, more years is a plus versus less years, right? Because you're saying you play more years. That means you score more baskets, you played more games, you were in more situations, you were able to accrue more all-star games, you could be on more all-pro teams, not all NBA teams, all these types of things. Why? Well, because you played longer, you played more, right? Now, the first problem with that is because you played more, you'll have more of the positive things, but then on the flip side, you'll also have more of the negative things. Like, since you played more, you had more turnovers. You'll have more missed shots. You have more missed free throws. You have more, all those types of things. That's why I think that argument doesn't work for me, the longevity argument, because you're going to have more of everything because you played more, okay? Number two, I want to start first off, looking at them as athletes, just the physical specimen. LeBron James, Michael Jordan, okay? Michael Jordan, you're talking about, a guy that stands at 6'6", between 6'5" and 6'6", 205 pounds to maybe 210 pounds at the most when he played in his prime. To LeBron James, who stands at about 6'8", maybe 6'9", between 6'8" and 6'9", 250, 260 maybe in his prime. So LeBron James, naturally the bigger player, obviously, but both guys are freakish athletes, okay? Measurables. Both have long wingspans. Michael Jordan has an unusually long wingspan for a guy his size, which is what helped him very well with many of his dunks and many of his steals and so on. Athleticism, both freak athletes. Michael Jordan, had a ridiculous 48-inch vertical when he was measured coming up. LeBron's vertical is about over 40 inches, which is great. It's significant, right? But Jordan's was a little bit more. When it comes to speed, I've heard some people say LeBron is bigger, stronger, faster. I don't know why people believe LeBron James was faster than Michael Jordan. I don't know. I think maybe you need to go back and watch rookie Michael Jordan, 1985, 1987, 88 Michael Jordan, how he got up and down the floor. I don't think there was a guy faster, than that Michael Jordan at all. So I doubt that. I always believe Michael Jordan is the faster player. Though LeBron, for a guy his size, was very fast and is very impressive. The physical specimen LeBron James is. Strength. Now, I know many people will assume LeBron James, because he's bigger and it looks as if he has more muscle mass, looks that way, that he's the stronger player. Me, I'm not so absolutely certain about that, and I'm going to tell you why. I remember players like Kobe Bryant. One of the things when Kobe Bryant was asked about facing Michael Jordan, what stood out to him? And the one thing that stood out to him is he was talking about how strong Mike was. Like, he just was so shocked at that, couldn't believe it. I heard guys like Grant Hill say similar things. Even guys like Dennis Rodman and things have admitted that, Michael Jordan was very strong, stronger than he would appear. And, LeBron James, oftentimes people assume that, and this is what I'm going to say here. Like me, for example, I go to the gym regularly. I lift weights, okay? I can go on the bench press, right? And I'm able to lift, 3 plates, 315. My max, the most I've ever done, just a 1 rep max, 365, right? Now, what I'm saying is not a brag at all, but what I'm saying is I'm able to do that, and I'm not the biggest guy in the world. I'm over 200 pounds, but, But my point is, there's guys that I see all the time in the gym, they're in there with me, working with me, guys I work with, I've trained and so on, who are bigger guys than I am. If you look at them, they look as if they have bigger, more muscle mass, taller, just bigger guys, right? Who can't bench press what I bench press. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is, you can't always assume because someone looks bigger that they're stronger, right? So I'm not always sold on that LeBron James is necessarily stronger. But if you want to believe that, I guess I'll let you go with it, you know? But to me, it's not that simple to me, because strength is a weird thing. Like, let me give you an example, another example, and I'll move on. Like, if you watch WWE wrestling, there's, in the women's division, there's this wrestler, Bianca Belair, right, who is like probably the most ridiculously strong woman they've seen there. You know, like, picks women up over her head, slams them, just walks up the damn steps with them, all types of shit, right? And then there'd be other women there, like I say, the big one, Nia Jax and others, who are bigger, but they can't do those same things she does, right? So the point I'm making is, just because strength isn't always what it seems. All right, so, but both guys are freak athletes, right? That are more athletic than the opponent they're dealing with. LeBron James pretty much is a little stronger and bigger than most of the guys. Jordan is just faster, more quick, all of those things than pretty much everyone he deals with, right? So they both have those advantages there. Scoring, right? Because now I want to go to skill set here. When you talk about scoring, many people, in my opinion, when they're debating, I'm hearing these debates, and I think people make a lot of errors when it comes to determining who's a better scorer than who. And like, it's all subjective, but I can give you my opinion on it, and you can take it or leave it, right? Guys who look just at stats and even look at things like field goal percentage, you can make a serious mistake. Let's take, for example, Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant. Okay, Giannis Antetokounmpo there's seasons where Giannis will average 31, right? And in that same year, Kevin Durant might average 27, right? So a person who's using that debate, they might say, you know, Giannis is a better scorer than Kevin Durant. But everyone knows that's not the case, right? So I think the most logical way to determine who is a better scorer is to look at the variety of ways that said player can score regularly, okay? Regularly, not just once in a while you can make this shot here and there, but regularly, what you do consistently. All right, people will tell you, obviously, Kevin Durant is a better scorer than Giannis. Why? Giannis, most of his points, he's a driver to the basket. One of, if not the best drivers to the basket we've ever seen. He's gonna dunk on you. He get back to the basket, you know, house you, elbow, dunk on you. A lot similar to Shaq in a lot of those ways, right? Whereas Kevin Durant, you know, he can get you back to the basket. He can get you floaters. He can get you, you know, pull-ups from all over the place. He can get you post moves. He can give you 3-point. He can give you, like, pretty much within that circle, Kevin Durant can score in various places in that circle. Whereas you can't say the same thing for Giannis. All right, so similarly with Michael Jordan and LeBron James, who's the better scorer? Sure, we can look at the points, you know, and I'll talk about that in a second too. But I think the best and the most effective way to deal with it, and the most irrefutable way to deal with it, is to look at that. The fact that, one, Michael Jordan, I consider a 3-level scorer. I did hear some guy on Showtime channel say that, well, Michael Jordan isn't a 3-point shooter, so he wants to try to argue as though he's not a 3-level scorer. And I've heard guys try to act as if Michael Jordan would be like the equivalent of DeMar DeRozan. It's one of the most disrespectful things I've ever heard before, but that's how far some guys who arguing for LeBron will go. And obviously that's ridiculous. Now, Michael Jordan, as we know, played in an era where the 3-point shot just wasn't utilized that much. Even the great 3-point shooters, Chris Mullin, Reggie Miller, Mark Price and these types of guys, they would take at the most about 4. Reggie Miller actually would take about 4 threes a game. And this was like, we're talking about when he was at his height. Larry Bird, great 3-point shooter. Times would shoot 2 a game or something like that, So, and it'd be once in a while they have a game where they go hot and do more than that, make 6, make 7. But really, the coaches did not give them the green light to just shoot all they want like you have today, right? And then, so when a guy from that era will shoot 40%, which is what Chris Mullin and Reggie Miller would shoot, a guy from this era, he'll say, well, it's low volume. And I'm like, what difference does it make? Why is this assumption that if I shoot more, that the percentage will go down? It's like, it's a lot going on with that there. But Michael Jordan, to me, is a better shooter than LeBron James, period. And the reason I came to the conclusion is that, number one, he shoots from anywhere within the circle. We can start there, from within anywhere. He can do a post up from the right side, post up from the left side, post up from directly in front, post up like near the little elbow area. He's shooting from the jumper, from the free throw line, like the elbows. He's shooting all within that circle, 20-footers, everything, right? And we're saying this is what he did regularly, right? You could look at Michael Jordan's form of shooting, and it was a perfect form. So he obviously is a shooter. The 3-point shot, I really believe that in an era where it was necessary and was taken all the time, that a guy like Michael Jordan would just constantly work on it to the point where he got it. But let's say we don't go with that. I don't know how you argue that LeBron James is a better shooter when career-wise, especially for the majority of their career, their percentages were about the same. It isn't like LeBron James doesn't shoot the 3-pointer at a significant enough higher clip to where one could argue that LeBron is some 3-level scorer and Mike isn't. Like, I don't understand that argument. Michael Jordan, without a doubt, 3-level scorer who can score pretty much anywhere in the mid-range. Whereas LeBron, he's gotten better at the mid-range, but you're still not seeing that as, it's just not the same, bro. And I think we know that, anyone who kind of watches. He's more of like get to the basket guy and that sort of thing. When it comes to scoring, though, beyond what I just mentioned, how the variety of ways a player can score, when you look at who's the better scorer, I think another mistake people are making is they're looking at the cumulative points that LeBron James has accumulated over 20, 21 years, or however long he's played, versus Michael Jordan, his points within the 14 or 15 years he played, right? And that doesn't give you the best idea of who's a better scorer. I believe that the best way to determine who's a better scorer is to look at the averages, the scoring average. The scoring average best tells you what to expect from a said player on a given night, because that's what their average was. Sometimes they'll score less than that. Sometimes they'll score more than that. But you can expect, if Michael Jordan shows up to play, you can expect 30 points. You can expect about 6.5 rebounds, and you can expect 5.5 assists. That's what you can expect if Michael Jordan comes to show up in his prime on your team. He might do 40, might do 50, whatever. But what you can expect is about 30 points, 6.5 boards, and about 5.5 assists. From LeBron James, what you can expect on a given night is about 27 points, 7.5 rebounds, and about 7.5 assists. Okay? So that's pretty much what you can expect, because that's what they average every night. Okay? So now, depending on what you value, on any given night, what's more to you. Now, For me, because I think scoring is always the number one attribute in a player. Like the player who scores the most, the best scorer is always going to go like number one, number two in the draft. That's just the way that goes. The second greatest attribute, most important attribute, is defense. It just is. You can go out there and you can guard a player. You can keep someone's field goal percentage lower than normal. That's the next thing I need. After that, for me, is rebounds. Because in a game that is predicated on possessions, I'm taking possessions away from your team and I'm adding possessions from my team while also giving my team room to not shoot perfectly, right? So if my field goal percentage, we're not shooting great from the field, but we're dominating the boards, that can make up that gap, you see, because I'm getting cleanup buckets, right? So that second chance points, right? All of those things. That's why that I value that. So when we look at rebounding and we look at assists, LeBron James averages one more rebound per game over Michael Jordan, just typically on any given night. Is that significant to you? To me, it really isn't that significant. But like I said, it's subjective. As far as assists, I'll give it to you. LeBron James is a player who looks to pass more than Michael Jordan does, just on any given night. Though Michael Jordan averages 5.5 assists, that's not bad at the two-guard position. That's really not shabby at all. A lot of it had to do with the fact that he was playing in a triangle offense system where the ball is shared. But for the most part, Michael Jordan has always played in better run systems than LeBron James did. LeBron James, half the time, I don't know what the hell they're running out there. I have no idea what's going on. It's kind of like he just kind of has the ball. Players got to kind of move and operate according to his beat and drum, and some people think that's an asset. I don't think it's an asset. I think it's more of a hindrance than anything. Because with most great athletes who like come to a team, they typically are asked to sacrifice their game, for other players. LeBron James might be the only player I can remember ever watching where he was never required to sacrifice his game. LeBron is always going to just get his 27, his 7 and 7, no matter what the situation is. And, it's just that simple. Everyone else around him is expected to sacrifice their game. Some think that's a good thing. Others, like myself, I don't know. The only way you could change my mind about it is if he was to win more championships with it. With regards to the ring argument, this is another one that people come up with, or they try to downplay. For me, rings are very significant. For some people, they try to argue that it isn't. I have not heard a sufficient argument that tells you rings aren't that important. Usually people will say things like, Robert Horry got 6 rings, and, Charles Barkley has none. Do you think Robert Horry is better than Charles Barkley? And I think they're not serious when they say that. That's like elementary to me. That's like something that a first grader would try to say. When everyone knows Robert Horry was an auxiliary player, he's a role player. Whereas Charles Barkley was a guy that was a franchise player that you built around. So, nobody says that. And then the idea of rings being just a team thing, and we can only look at individual stuff. And really, I think that's true to an extent. That is a team thing, but the star you're talking about, especially when you're talking about like guys like LeBron James, you talk about guys like Michael Jordan, the team is built around the talent of that player, right? So it does matter what the result of it is, because the team is built around your talent. So if I'm able to get more wins around another guy's talent over your guy's talent, that's telling you something, right? Because there's a lot that goes into building around a player. When you're building around a player, a part of what goes into that is leadership. And part of leadership, man, is a guy's ability to inspire the other teammates, whether it's through leading by example, whether it's through talking to guys. I remember when James Worthy, was talking about Magic Johnson, and he said he's just the greatest leader, he's ever been around. Like, Magic was the type of guy that would instill confidence in his, in his teammates. He's the type of guy, man, that always knew how to get you to where you were, and put you in your right sets, get the ball to you in rhythm. All of these different things. And that matters. There's other players. They could be the most talented guy. They could be talented guys, but they don't know how to inspire teammates. That's a big part of making players better, not just passing them the ball. Like, I think that's like a very overrated thing. This idea of just passing guys the ball makes them better. Like, hey, what are you saying? They couldn't score unless you passed it to them? That's just silly to me. And then I'll go into that some other time. I just don't get that argument. For me, Michael Jordan, and then there's a number of things I look at. There's a number of stats I look at, right? If you look at, this is the one most telling stat for me, always the most telling stat. LeBron James, okay, teams, okay, LeBron James teams have only been top 5 in team assists, okay? I mean, team assists as a team, how many assists you accrue. Last time I checked, it was one time, and that was the 2013 Miami Heat, which was the best team LeBron James has ever been a part of. 2013 Miami Heat. Michael Jordan Chicago Bulls teams, okay, all of those championship teams, they were always top 5 in assists. Top 5 in assists. Because they're playing a system where the ball is being shared. There's constant ball movement. There's team IQ at play, as opposed to just, most LeBron James teams is high IQ LeBron with teammates who are kind of like running around with a chicken, the head cut off, waiting for passes, waiting for this. It's like when you just watch the team, it just looks bad to me. It just looks bad. Whereas if you watched the Bulls in their heyday, I mean, it was great. Now, for me, that's an asset to a basketball player when he has the ability to play within a system, to be a cog. Even if he's the most important guy, cog, to be a cog. Versus a guy who can't really do that. The only way he can play is if he's the guy with the ball all the time. You know what I mean? Like, he can't play off the ball if need be. He always got to be on the ball. The player that can do both is always better for me. All right, so that's another check to me for Jordan. And I know it seems like I'm always saying Jordan, but I'm really being honest. Like, besides maybe durability, I guess, because Jordan got hurt, in 85, 86. In 86, yeah. Besides maybe durability, and besides passing, I guess I'll give LeBron, even though I think Jordan was a good passer, I don't see a lot of checks in the box for him. And I don't say this as some Jordan fanboy. I'm just really thinking about it, man. That this guy Jordan really, he just didn't have a lot of weaknesses in his game. You know, I heard a guy yesterday, man, tried to argue that LeBron James somehow has better handles than Michael Jordan, and like what, like these things are just crazy. Some of these things. Michael Jordan's handles was never an issue, never ever an issue. Michael Jordan, like, averaged about 2.7 turnovers a game for his career, whereas LeBron averages 3.5 turnovers a game. How do you argue? How do you explain a guy averaging less turnovers, but he has weaker handles? You know what I mean? It's like the arguments are strange to me. And then the final one for me, I mean, the longevity thing. I don't get that one either. Because, okay, if I asked you, okay, like, all right, if you're running a company, okay, and you get this one employee that works for you, and you're say you're gold mining, you're a gold miner, okay, and the job is based on how much gold you're able to mine within a certain period of time. You get one guy comes in, and he works for you for 14 years, and in those 14 years, he's able to get you 50 tons of gold. I'm just throwing a number out there. In 14 years. And then you got another guy that comes in and works for you for 20 years. And yeah, he's coming in every day, he's checking in every day and all of that. You know, you got a consistent worker for 20 years. But the gold that he amasses is what? 30,000 tons or whatever. Which guy was more beneficial to you? Which guy was more efficient for you? Obviously, it's the guy who's able to get 50,000 tons in 14 years. And really, that's the way the ring argument looks for me. If one guy was able to, in 14 seasons, get 6 rings, versus another guy who gets 4 in 20 years, if you're the owner of a franchise, which guy would you want? Like, okay, yeah, you're at 20 years, right? All right, the benefits of what? More sellouts, I guess. People still coming to watch you. More money, I guess. But if what's important to me are rings, championships, being the best in the sport, I'm going to go with the guy that has 6 in 14 years. You know, so I don't get it. If I'm able to do more in less time, that's literally the definition of efficiency. Whereas you needed more time to do less. Even if you needed more time to catch me, you're less efficient. You know, and for me, this is very simple, man. Like, I don't understand, you know, the LeBron over Jordan arguments from pretty much any angle. So that's just my take on that, man. I don't know. Tell me what y'all think, man. Peace out.